Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Azliana Hamzi, 2313496. Today, I will be presenting a very interesting topic based on a book, The Encounter of Man and Nature, The Spiritual Crisis of Modern Man by Dr Seyyed Hossein Nasr. In this book, he discusses many important topics. However, today I would like to share some of the points that I personally perceive as interesting and important for the human civilization. I would like to inform that today's presentation will be divided into 4 sections, which are the first one, the appreciation, second one is the greed and destruction, the third one is science and its bias, and lastly, the possible solution. So I would like to show what I have today. It is a flower. It's so beautiful, and I believe that we all love flowers because it's so beautiful, and we can beautify our home with a flower. But when it dies, we will throw and replace it with a new flower that is more beautiful. And again, if it dies, we will throw and replace it, and it is repeatedly throw and replace. And this is a metaphor of how does it feel to be appreciated, to be cared of, or to be loved, or to be protected. As for me, I would define to be appreciated is when we've been protected and loved and not being used for what we can bring to the table. But have we ever imagined what nature around us would say about how they have been treated all this time, especially in this modern day, where deforestation is everywhere, the destruction of the animals' habitat is no longer an issue, and the sea is seen as a dustbin. So, do we appreciate our Mother Earth? Dr Seyyed Hossein uses an interesting analogy to describe humans' exploitative nature or behavior towards the nature as the prostitution, since humans exploit nature to fulfill the desires and never be responsible for nature's protection. And the materialistic nature embedded in humans' heart makes us blind for perceiving nature as a special gift from the Creator for us to contemplate His greatness. We humans, we utilize nature to fulfill our desire, to feel pleasure, but we are never satisfied with nature. Since we have the sense of unlimited power, we build more and more artificial environments and claim it as progress or development without considering how too much artificial environments like the zoos, agriculture fields, and many more are actually affecting nature negatively, and at the same time we leave the huge consequences to human civilizations. In Quran Surah Ar-Rum verse 41, it is mentioned that corruption has spread on land and sea as a result of what people's hands have done, and so that Allah may cause them to taste the consequences of some of their deeds, and perhaps they might return to the right path. So this verse emphasizes how greed in humans is the one that causes problems faced by humans. In his book, Dr Seyyed Hossein has outlined several consequences faced by humans due to greediness. The first one is too many artificial environments, which contribute to the issue of overpopulation and lack of breathing space. Well, it is an obvious fact because many trees were cut down to build all the buildings where people would migrate and live collectively in certain developed areas, which leads to overpopulation, and at the same time, it minimizes the space for breathing, and the number of people is increased, and the number of trees that is smaller are not capable to absorb the carbon dioxide released by the humans, and at the same time releasing the more what we call that oxygen. So yeah, it's an obvious fact. And the second one is humans' greediness towards nature makes natural resources decrease, While nature is the source to produce medicine, balancing ecosystem, and the source of inspiration for humans' mind. So the lack of natural resources and increase the artificial environment contribute to the increasing of mental health crisis because it affects our psychological well-being. And the last impact mentioned in the book is the threat of war. As previously mentioned, humans have the sense of unlimited power, which make us feel the domination of nature, like we can grip nature easily to utilize the nature the way we want in order to fulfill our desire. So the huge feeling of domination will free the animal behavior within the man and lead to the war. And it more concerning when the modern technology will be included in the war. So based on all the problems that we have talked about, it will come to our mind that the question like, why is this happening? Like, what is the real reason of all of these issues and consequences? Well, logically speaking, there is no only and specific factor that leads to those issues and consequences because the factors are overlapped. Nevertheless, the possible reason for the problem encountered by the man nowadays have been mentioned by Dr. Seyyed Hossein in his brilliant book. So one of it is humans' ignorance towards the science and discoveries from the different centuries. So we, nowadays generation, we would compare and judge the previous discoveries by making our discoveries as the benchmark to the previous one. But we never try to understand their perspective that makes them perceive the world like that. And that's the problem. That's a very big problem as it makes us blind, since we would acknowledge and praise those ancient discoveries that were similar to us by saying, oh, you are on the right track, while the discoveries that were completely different direction from our discoveries, we simply say, those were wrong. You're making it harder for people in the future, something like that. That's our problem. And we glorify modern science and believe modern science is better than the ancient science until we do not want to put ourselves in their shoes. We never try to understand the way they see, their ways to solve the issues regarding the nature, and we never try to be inspired by them. Well, okay, so let's go back to the history of science. When ancient people looked at the stars for religious reasons, we today mostly just care about how good their math was. So Babylonian stargazers would gaze at the sky for the stars just to think about how the heaven could impact the personal life of a human beings, or to contemplate any other religious matter. But nowadays, as we read old books telling the history of the Babylonian stargazers, we try to make sense of them using today's scientific ideas. It's like we're trying to understand a love poem by looking at its grammar rules. It's a very different thing. For example, we will talk about what ancient people thought about stuff or movement, as was the same thing as our modern ideas about atoms and physics. They even sometimes humans nowadays even call some of the old thinkers as the first modern scientists, which totally misses what those thinkers were actually trying to figure out. By doing all this, we actually miss the opportunity to, we miss all of the brilliant and complicated ideas in all science, including the symbol, the spiritual belief, and the deep philosophical thoughts. If we really want to understand how humans have connected to the nature throughout the centuries, maybe even find some better ways to live with it now, we must take off our modern science goggles and try to see things the way people back then did. So these problems have been encountered for such a long time, and many scholars have given their opinions regarding the issues, like how to solve it, or any other brilliant opinions from the scholars. And also our Dr. Seyyed Hossein Nasr also suggests some of the possible approaches to deal with these issues. First of all, he suggested that we have to go back to the Creator, because modern science has already deviated or become secular, because the modern science separates nature and God. Thus, we, especially Muslim community, we must integrate the scientific knowledge and the Islamic knowledge by requiring the concept of Tawheed as the center of all of the knowledge. Therefore, all decision in utilizing nature will be considering Islamic perspective, which already guides humans on how to deal with nature, as highlighted in the Quran and Hadith itself. Also, modern science has been the only accepted perspective in dealing with nature. Thus, the other approach is welcoming different viewpoints in perceiving an issue, so that it will open more broader perspectives and better understanding of an issue. Because humans' minds is a gift from our Creator. This ability is uniquely human, as the animals were not given the same, the exact level of thinking as us. Thus, we have to think what is going on around us, and we have to try. We have to try to make the effort to make this world is a better place for all of us to live together harmoniously. Since we are the Khalifa or the Viceroy on this earth, all of us have the responsibilities to carry, as one day we shall return to our God, and we will ask for what efforts we have tried in order to preserve this earth. That's all from me. Thank you so much.